Now, I'm going to play for you something really touching and something that's going to highlight something really amazing. And this is the best thing about Upload for me, is that we get such a variation of stuff that is sent in to us. It can be on any topic, whatever, either something you're inspired by, it can mean absolutely nothing to you, it can be a bit of nonsense, it sounds amazing, or it can be something that has a load of weight and meaning behind it, and we'll probably love it either way. But this something that was sent in to us is a poem by Amy Williams. Now, this talks about domestic abuse during lockdown, so it may be something that you don't want to listen to right now. You might not be in the right headspace for it. It isn't graphic, I can tell you that, but it does talk about it, and I wouldn't want anyone to be triggered or feel any type of way about it. So if you feel like you can't listen to it, it's 5 minutes long and I'll be playing it very shortly, so feel free to walk away, turn the radio down for just a few minutes and come back to us. But I would always say, if you ever feel like you are in the right mind space a little bit later on, always listen back on BBC Sounds, because it really is a fantastic piece. I'm going to play it for you now, and then I'm going to be having a chat with Amy just off the back of it about why she made it and the importance of things like this. And it really is fantastic, so please listen with your most careful ears.
This is the story of something extreme, rarely discussed and often unseen. For all it's a subject unspoken, taboo, we deny its existence. We don't see the truth. When the virus descended, it started a war, but there's another disease that I want to explore. In fact, I'm asking, no please, I implore, consider what happens behind a closed door. Because of Corona, a lockdown commenced. We were distanced from family, removed from our friends. The risks were reduced, that's what everyone thought. But to some, the risk's greater behind their closed door. The danger I speak of is cruel like Corona. It too has an evil and vicious persona, controlling, coercive, degrading, a crime, oppression, aggression, destroys over time. The virus presents a real threat, that is true, but the threat that I speak of is domestic abuse. Call-outs for help have increased by 1/3 as victims try getting their voice to be heard, locked with abusers where no one can see, and yearning for safety. Yet where can they flee? There's comfort for some with the self-isolation. To others, there's fear and it's clear trepidation. Imagine a life, 24/7, treading on eggshells and dodging aggression. There's no one to notice a bump or a bruise. Safety fades further with networks removed. And think of the children all living this life behind those closed doors. Who will hear when they cry? The people who usually make sure they're okay are locked too in houses, restrictions in play. I'm thinking of teachers and doctors and friends, support from whom children have come to depend. Children hear all the shouting, children see all the tears, the fear of one moment will last through the years. Their journey in life is a dangerous path, unsure of the future and scared of the past. When someone who's frightening takes total control, consider the things they can seek to withhold. With no social meetups, there's FaceTime to use, but what if you ask and you're always refused? With Twitter and email and WhatsApp we're blessed, but if you can't have a phone, then there's no one to text. We relish the thought of our one walk a day, but to some, even that would be taken away. It's harder for victims to run and to hide when they can't leave their house and they can't go outside. We soon will emerge from this lockdown in place, but abusers will still use the virus as bait, telling their victim the risk's still unknown, so they mustn't go out and they must stay at home. Now I know that this message is so hard to hear, the pain and the suffering, the violence and fear. But just like Corona's a threat to our lives, some battle abuse every day to survive. It's my duty, my passion, my aim to express how important it is that this threat is addressed. So let's raise awareness, support those in need, help all of the people who need to be freed. Please don't get complacent or turn a blind eye. Be inquisitive, curious, nosy and wise. Check in with others and share your concerns. Help to enable a voice to be heard. And for any survivor or victim, please know that even through lockdown you're never alone. There are services out there who truly can help. Don't suffer in silence. Find strength in yourself. The aim of this poem, can it ever be true? We must put an end to domestic abuse. So yes, with the virus we're fighting a war, but please think of the battles behind a closed door.
Amy Williams, Behind a Closed Door. If you or someone you know has been affected by domestic abuse or violence, you can go to the BBC Action Line on the internet, and that's available for you, and I can read you a number. But also, if you're in immediate danger, you should dial 999. Now, the BBC Action Line has got loads of different numbers that you can call and access, websites and all that. One of the numbers you can get on there is the National Domestic Abuse Helpline. The number for that is 0808 2000 247. That's 0808 2004 247. So if you need help, those are loads of resources you can get. I'm now talking to Amy, who wrote the poem. She's down the line. Hi, Amy.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for sending that in. Tell me a little bit about how that came about.
So, throughout the whole pandemic, like so many, I guess I've been aware of the impact it's had on the economy, the NHS, on health, and, of course, on people's lives as well. But I've also felt really passionate about raising awareness and providing details about support, really, for some of the more, what I would call, hidden issues that affect society and the world. And so this particular poem is one of a series, really, because I've written for Age UK about loneliness. I wrote during Mental Health Awareness Week about the impact of the pandemic and lockdown on things like anxiety, depression and OCD. Some of those poems actually going to be published by Slam King's Cross Performance Art Theatre in London, which is great, and that it's going into an anthology to raise money specifically for the charity Mind. So it's a series of events really that I've been doing just to raise awareness, to raise funds and that kind of thing. But this particular poem, Behind a Closed Door, it was emotional to write and to share. But I just believe it's important to reach people in different ways, and poetry for me is how I feel I can communicate best. And it's a subject, like I said in the poem, that it's rather taboo. People find it hard to talk about, and I just wanted to bring it to people's attention really and talk about the impacts of the pandemic on this for people.
I couldn't agree more with you. I've more recently I got into a lot of crime podcasts, as a lot of people do, and the root of so many murders can be avoided if people can reach out and get the help of, you know, and spotting the signs of domestic abuse. And it's so troubling. You hear it time and time again if you're listening to those sort of podcasts, as I do. And so I myself have become, really sort of passionate about making sure that I'm making other people aware of the signs or resources and all that sort of stuff. So I was really touched when I heard your poem, and I know maybe if someone isn't as aware of those things, hearing your poem actually is a really good sort of thing to put out there and let people hear, because now we're having this conversation about it. Hopefully people out there are maybe a little bit more aware of it. And during lockdown, I know there was some discussions about this sort of thing, but I think with a lot of things, people can sort of get complacent and forget that every day that potentially is someone's life that's being absolutely torn apart or diminished. And it's so heartbreaking when you're so empathetic and you think about those things. It's heartbreaking, but just keeping it in your mind, just that these things do happen, and the way you describe it, behind a closed door, is just so spot on, I think. So thanks so much for sending it in.
Thank you. You're welcome.
The way that you sort of talk about it is amazing. So how did you sort of get into the frame to write about something like this? My background is in social care anyway, so I've got a lot of experience working with families, supporting families through domestic abuse. So that was in my mind as well. But I work quite closely with the agencies that I mention on. If you play the whole video, then it's got at the end details of NextLink and craft training and development. So I talked issues through with them as well, and talked about their experience of domestic abuse and people that they've worked with. So I wanted it to be as real as I could, really, and empathise with people as much as I could. So those are the ways I did it, really. That's amazing. And obviously you say that you deal with these sorts of things in your job. And so do you find that being able to write about them and sort of put it into a positive way helps you sort of manage how the things that you're dealing with? Because obviously you get sort of, I guess, a second-hand toll of hearing about these sorts of things.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, writing poetry for me is just my escape with everything. So I write about absolutely anything. If I'm happy, if I'm sad, if I'm worried or anxious, I write. So I think it helps me deal with anything, really, to be honest. It's a really good outlet.
And when did you pick up poetry? When did you start writing?
Well, as long as I can remember, really. I found a poetry book not so long ago that I started when I was 8 years old. So, yeah, I think I've been doing it for many, many years. But it's now that it's sort of been able to intertwine with my social care work as well, which is wonderful. It's two passions coming together, really. So, yeah. But I've always wanted to be a writer, and it's always my go-to, like I say. So.
That's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, I work on this programme, and when I do, I get so inspired by the amazing people and the things like what you've sent in and just how great people are with words. And I always think, oh, I really want to be able to do that. And I know that I'm sure that there's people listening thinking, God, it sounds like it's so therapeutic and so amazing to do that, but I just don't feel like I have the skills to do that. Is there anything that you could say to those people to say, actually, you can do it? Is there any tips or any advice that you could give to someone to just get them to initially pick up their pen or their notes app to just start writing?
I think I'd say write what feels right for you, if that makes sense, and write from the heart, and find a place to write. So my place is my rainbow-coloured bench out in my garden. I just love going out there, sitting out there, being in nature, and just thinking of nothing else apart from what's in my own heart and in my own mind, really. And nothing silly. So just write anything down on paper, and it will flow. I think that experience of what I write about is a lot of my own experiences, what I've been through, what I've seen, what I've done, and that makes it more real. So just give it a go, and people will be surprised, I think, with what they come up with.
That's absolutely amazing. Thank you. I really hope that someone takes that on board and then ends up uploading something else for us, because I always love that kind of full circle thing. So thank you so much.
I look forward to seeing some of yours now.
Oh yeah. When Adam's back, I'll have to send something in under a pseudonym or something.
And actually, my current project, I'm encouraging people to write with me. So if I've got just a minute, what I'm doing at the moment, it's a global poetry reading, basically, and it's to raise money for UNICEF this time. So I wanted to try and almost with this pandemic unite the whole world together, and I thought UNICEF is a charity that works in so many different countries across the globe. So what we're going to be doing is reading out a poem, and I've got about 20 different people so far in all countries over the world who are going to be reading out a line of the poem each, and I'm merging it all, publishing it into one video. But what I've said to them is that they can give me their own words of experiences about the pandemic, and I'll write that into the poem for them to read. So it's a real collaborative effort, and it's amazing. I've got some authors, comedians, some beauty queens. I've got some directors, actors, all sorts of different people, and adults, children. And yeah, it's going to be this amazing combined project, and people are having the chance to put their words into it. So there you are. You could join my collaboration, Lillie-Mae, as well.
Amazing. That's so brilliant. I mean, I hope you send that in as well. I'd love to give that a play. Thank you so much. If someone wants to then find that in the other projects that you do in your other poetry, is there somewhere that they can follow you on social media or a website or anything?
Yeah, so I've got a website which is www.amywilliams.co.uk. And I'm on Twitter, which is @author_Amy, or Facebook, which is Away with Words, Amy Williams Author. So all the details for that current project and all my others are all on those different websites and social media.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sending that in, Amy. It's really wonderful. And thanks again for your time this evening.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. Thank you. That was Amy Williams, who sent in her poem Behind a Closed Door, something that was really powerful, talking about domestic abuse and how it's sort of, been emphasised during lockdown, and how it's maybe got worse for a lot of people, and it can be a really tough time. So hopefully that maybe just refreshes that in someone's mind. And again, if someone or yourself have been affected by domestic abuse or violence, you can call 999 if it's an immediate danger, or you can go to BBC and search for Action Line, and there's loads of resources that you can find there that are supporting for domestic abuse of all sorts. And I guarantee if there's something you need, please go search it out. And you can always call us as well at BBC Radio Bristol, and we can find you a resource to pass on. So if you don't have access to the internet and you need help, you can call us and we will give you a phone number that you need and pass you on to the right people. So if you do need help, please seek it out. You can call us if you need help on 08000 855 949 and we can pass you on to the right resource. But again, if you search for BBC Action Line, you can find something there. Boy, have I